What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is JU with goldmines.com. And I wanted to just talk a little bit because everybody's been asking me my opinion on the Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. I've been trying to refrain from actually really speaking on it. Number one, because it isn't confirmed, although we'll get to that. And just let me start by saying this. The first question that I get is, do I think it's going to happen? So let me start there. And this video or this audio, I didn't plan anything. I was driving, doing some work at the house, and I just, was watching a couple videos, and I thought I would just, kind of speak on it. So it isn't really like organized. I didn't plan any notes or anything. I'm just kind of, shooting the shit. But anyways, with that being said, so do I think this fight is going to happen? I think there is a high possibility that it will happen, simply because there's so much money on the line. Now, how it happens is the even bigger question. First of all, it's going to be a boxing match. There's no way around that. Floyd Mayweather would never step into an octagon on a professional level. He might do it behind closed doors with a couple of friends, maybe an MMA fighter that he's cool with, just to have some fun. But when it comes to the world stage, his professional record and his image as TBE, or the best ever, he's never going to do that. So it's going to be a boxing match, which poses a lot of problems for Conor McGregor and the promotional end of it. Of course, he's with the UFC, which is Dana White and WME and that promotional company. And so this is where the real dilemma happens, and this is why there's a possibility, but I won't say a probability of it happening, because there is so much money on the line. I'm sure that WME, who is an entertainment company and the new owners of the UFC, and Dana White would love to take part in what would probably be the biggest combat sports spectacle of all time. And I call it a spectacle for a reason, because it's not really a fight, but I'll touch on that too. Anyways, there's also the dilemma of who's the A side. And I think in a boxing match, and just in general, you're going to have to give it to Floyd for the fight to even be possible. There's no way he's going to give that up. He really wants this fight, though. And that's why he's come out recently saying, I will come out of retirement for Conor McGregor. He really, really wants this fight. Now, as a combat sports fan, I hate this fight. But the businessman inside of me understands it 100%. I mean, what did they do for Maypac? Like 300 million gross or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure that's what it ended up around, like pay-per-view, promotional money, the whole 9 yards. 300 million. I think they did almost 4 million pay-per-view buys, 4.5, maybe more. Let me double check. I like to be factual. Let me see. Give me a second. I'm just going to Google this real quick. Maypac pay-per-view buys. Oh, so they did 4.4 million buys. This is according to Fox Sports, and $400 million in revenue, which is nuts, right? And I think that this fight would, the Conor McGregor and Mayweather fight would break that, simply because you're combining two worlds. Even though there's a big crossover base, like myself, I love both MMA and I love boxing. There's a big crossover base. There's also the two extremes, right? Just like anything else in life, right? So you have a big core group that loves both boxing and MMA, but then you have certain diehard MMA fans who don't give a damn about boxing, and same in the boxing world, where you have boxing fans who don't care about MMA. And you're going to unite those two worlds. I would estimate maybe if they did 4.4 with just boxing, I would estimate somewhere 5 to 6. And I know I might sound crazy, but you would literally have the world coming to a halt to watch this fight. And anybody that says they wouldn't watch this fight is a liar, because who wouldn't want to watch it? I mean, at the end of the day, do I think it's a great boxing match? Hell no. But would I watch it? Absolutely. Why not? Two fighters that I like, one more than the other. I'm definitely more of a Conor McGregor fan as a fan than I am a Mayweather fan, though I highly respect Mayweather's boxing abilities. A lot of people ask me if I like Mayweather. Do I like Mayweather as a boxer, as a boxing fan? Absolutely. I love Mayweather as a boxing fan, and him as a boxer. I never liked. I don't want to say I never. I didn't like the Money Mayweather character, and I always say that word. I think it's a character, which I don't think he came up with on his own. I think this whole Money Mayweather thing was a ruse to the public, right? He knew. If any of you have ever read the 48 Laws of Power, I believe it's the 48 Laws of Power. It's either that or 33 Strategies to War. But anyways, there's a section that's called polarization, right? And I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I'm talking a little bit about Mayweather and his character. But there's a section called polarization, and essentially, in long story short, polarization means that you're going to pick an identity or a side, right? And if it's our 33 strategies or 48 Laws of Power, it's basically a war strategy, right? You're going to pick a side, and you're going to make it a definitive side, meaning like, this is who I am, this is what I believe, knowing that there's an opposing side to that, right? And the reason you polarize is because you essentially become an icon, or you become, how do I put this? You become drastically identified, right? Identifiable. Everybody knows what side you land on. And then the people will choose what side they're on. They're either going to hate you or they're going to love you. And so this is a method that Mayweather and his marketing team have used. They've used polarization, right? He's become such a polarizing character. You either love Mayweather or you hate Mayweather. There's rarely an in-between. I hate his character. I love the boxer. So that's where I stand on that, and that's why I call it a character, because it's obvious that it's a marketing scheme. And one of the honest things that I have to say is that I've always heard stories, just being in the boxing community and being in the boxing world, and that these personal encounters that people have had with Mayweather, and it's never what you see on TV. I've always heard that, from waiters or waitresses, he's a great tipper. He was really cool when I met him. He was willing to stop and talk to me. And that's the type of individual that I think he actually is. But he has to put on this facade, similar to like a rapper, because it's polarizing, and it's the character that he plays, and it's more importantly, it's his brand, right? If you subscribe to the lifestyle that he promotes, then you're a fan of his, and if you don't like him. And so that is what it is. And Conor McGregor is using the exact same mold, and this is why this fight is so great, because they're two polarizing characters. You're either going to love and root for Mayweather, or you're going to love and root for Conor McGregor. Chances are you're not going to really sit in between. And so that's where the two worlds collide. Now, so back to the business end of it. When it comes to the business, there's a lot of money on the table. Like 500, 600 million, $500 million probably, maybe more. Who knows, man? This would be crazy, crazy money. So it's hard to see them not trying to attempt it. There's also rumors that I think it's June. Let's see, Mayweather. Let's see, McGregor reserve. Okay, so T-Mobile Arena, there's a rumor that, I don't know, it's on a lot of websites, Forbes, let's see, TotalProSports.com, a whole bunch of websites said that June 10th is reserved, allegedly, for Mayweather and Conor McGregor. And so there's definitely seems to be some level of discussion. There's also the thought that they've already reached an agreement, and it's just a few details probably to be worked out, and they're trying to figure out, and they're already promoting it, essentially, is what a lot of people believe that they're doing, which I'm kind of believing myself. Um, it's obviously making headlines, you know. There's also the other school of thought that they're just using each other's names to stay relevant. One's retired, one has stepped away from a sport for a bit while he's having his child. That one being Conor McGregor, the retired one obviously being Floyd Mayweather. And so there's that school of thought as well. Um, Again, do I think this fight is going to happen? I would I would say possibly. I say there's actually a very high likelihood. I think that Dana White and WME can make so much money, and I don't think that it hurts the Conor McGregor brand that bad if he goes to boxing and loses to TBE. Right now, some of you may or may not agree he's TBE. I don't believe he's TBE, but that's just my opinion. I believe that there's greater fighters. I think, Muhammad Ali and Tyson, Julio Cesar Chavez, Senior, of course, um, are all much more accomplished and better fighters. Even Roy Jones, I think, was better, as far as the best ever. Sugar Ray Robinson. I mean, there's, the list goes on. Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran could be questionable. He did quit in the middle of a fight, but whatever. I digress. Anyways, if he goes over to boxing and loses and then comes back to MMA and starts whooping ass again, so what? Literally what's going to happen is everybody's going to look at that fight and say, what'd you think was going to happen? Now, this kind of moves me along into my next thought and a question that a lot of people have asked me as well. Do I think Conor McGregor can win? Which is a very broad question. Do I think he will win? I do not, if they fight. Do I think he can win? Of course, he has a puncher's chance. He's a bigger dude and he can knock him out. But here is the analogy that I give to everybody in this situation. A lot of people look at boxing and MMA and they see two very similar sports. You strike in both of them, you punch in both of them, but they are very different sports that look similar. So the analogy that I always give is, imagine Conor McGregor is the best rugby team and the most popular rugby team out right now. And Floyd Mayweather is the best football team. Let's say the New England Patriots, right? Best record, most money, most hated and loved. This is like the best rugby team going to play the best football team in a game of football for the first time in their professional career. Right? Some of these rugby players, they may have played some football here and there, in their lives. But as a professional team, they are going to play the New England Patriots and hope to win. Now, can they win? I mean, they could. Do you think they would win? I don't think so. Right? The rules are different. The game is different. Right? There's things you can do in rugby that you can't do in football and vice versa. But regardless, this football team is the best at what they do. They've been playing football their whole lives. And this rugby team, though the sport looks similar, will be playing the best football team for the first time. And that's the analogy that I draw. A lot of people, again, they see a similar sport, but they fail to realize that they are in fact two different sports. And so that's why the likelihood of Conor McGregor winning in a boxing match against Floyd Mayweather, who is undefeated against top level, not saying all A level, but at least B level fighters and some A level fighters, undefeated, arguably. Let's say even if he did lose one or two, it doesn't even matter, right? On record, he's undefeated. And trying to beat them for the first time. And probably with the odds stacked against them, they'd probably be dehydrated, right? In a weight class that they can't, or that he can't win. Let's just go back to Conor McGregor. In a weight class that's a little bit draining for him. I mean, where would they really fight at? I would imagine. I can't imagine a catch weight, but if I did, the biggest that they would both fight at would be 155. Now, 155 for Conor McGregor he's going to come into the ring at like 165. Floyd Mayweather would come into the ring if they fought at 154, 155. Floyd Mayweather would probably tap out at about 158, maybe 160. And I say 165 for Conor McGregor. It might even be more. He's a naturally bigger dude. He's broader. He's just a bigger guy. So anyways, the reason I bring that up is because I think that it's natural, and we've seen Mayweather do it before. He would drain him probably down to 152. If he really had his way, he'd go down to 147, maybe. And, drain the hell out of Conor McGregor. Another thing is, and I don't know how this factors out. This is just kind of, again, I'm just shooting the shit. But another question I would have is, obviously I don't think Mayweather would knock Conor McGregor out. What does Conor McGregor look like 12 rounds? Even though they'd probably be 3-minute rounds and he's used to going 5 in the UFC, what does 12-minute rounds look like for Conor McGregor in boxing? What type of tools does he have in his arsenal that he can go for 12 rounds and adjust with one of the top ring IQ having boxers ever? It's a tall order. So anyways, with that being said, yeah, that's just the way I look at it. It's a rugby team getting ready to play the best football team in football. Looks similar, but it's a very slim chance of winning. And so, like I said, would I watch the fight? Yes. But do I think it's really going to be that competitive? I would highly doubt it. A lot of people are mad at Mayweather because he wants to fight Conor McGregor. They think he should come back and fight a boxer. Honestly, if I'm Mayweather, I'm not coming back for no boxer. Why? You just grossed the biggest fight in history. He has hundreds of millions. He spends a lot of money, but let's be realistic. He also makes a lot of money. He's running gyms. He's promoting probably other side businesses, good investments. He's also a big bettor, and I'm sure he makes some pretty good bets in Vegas. He probably gets a lot of free stuff in Vegas. He runs the town. So I don't think he needs to come back. I think he just wants to. I think he really is looking for a show. He's not looking for a fight. So, it's just like this whole Pacquiao Jeff Horn thing. A lot of people are, and this is another video if I decide to do it, we'll see. But a lot of people are getting mad at Pacquiao because he's not trying to fight one of the top welterweights. These are two guys in boxing that have already proved a lot. It's kind of like seniority at work, man. Like when you're at work, you don't, and you've been there for 30 years, at your job, and you have seniority, you don't do the hard jobs, right? You do, because you've done the hard jobs. You did all the hard work to get the seniority and the big paychecks. You now are showing up to work and you're doing what needs to be done or what you want to do. More so, obviously you still have a boss and stuff at a regular job, but I'm just kind of giving that analogy that, you have seniority. Now they're just fighting to put on shows. They're not fighting to prove anything anymore. They make a little money, travel the world, accomplish some things, And so that's my stance on that. I mean, when it comes to McGregor, I think he still, honestly has a lot to prove in MMA. But he is the biggest star in MMA right now, without a doubt. Ronda Rousey failed. CM Punk failed with, Brock Lesnar using roids like a crazy, which is, I don't know why people are surprised at that. He's definitely the biggest star. And so, this crossover would be nuts. And I think it would be crazy for the UFC. I think the UFC is a little bit worried that it might hurt their brand, as, there's always that debate who wins in a fight, MMA or boxer. And that's all relative, right? You can take a boxer off the street and an MMA artist, mixed martial artist off the street, and who wins really depends on those two fighters. It's situational. You can't give that blanket statement. And that's if you're talking about a real fight. If you bring a boxer over to MMA, 9 out of 10 times that boxer loses unless he knows some other martial arts. I would say almost 10 out of 10 unless he lands a good punch. It's been proven before, Who went over there? Was it James Toney, I think, tried to do it, right? A couple other boxers have tried to do it. It's not an easy transition, but it's also the other way around. So, but with that question looming, of who would win in a fight, a lot of casual fans would look at that and say, oh, boxing is better. The best boxer beat the best MMA artist, not understanding that, the MMA artist was in a different sport. I think the fact that Dana White is really quiet right now, there's, rumors of rooms being booked, not rooms, venues being booked and stuff is interesting. So, anyways, we'll see what happens. I just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents to some of those who might care. You know, like I said, do I really, really care about the fight and its outcome? I don't, but will I watch it? I absolutely will, man. I'd make a night of it. Hit the little, bar or pool hall or whatever, and go watch the fight with, with some of my loved ones, and I would, man. Why not? But other than that, will it happen? I don't know. We'll see. I am just as interested as you are now. So we'll take it from there, man. Um, yeah. So, since I'm on it, and I'll try to keep this a little bit shorter. This is Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather, but there's also the whole Canelo, Alvarez, and Gennady Golovkin debate. Um, and the reason I'm going to keep this quick is because it's I don't know. I'm kind of over the debate. I hate the whole Mayweather Pacquiao type buildup for Golovkin and Canelo. It's just annoying as a boxing fan. But first of all, the question is, do I think that fight will happen? Yes. My concern is, will it happen in time? Will we get another over-the-hill fighter against a fighter who's taken less damage? I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Canelo's right now with how he's maneuvered the industry. A lot of people try to blame that on Oscar De La Hoya, but you're either a man or you're not. You're either a man or you're not. You know what I mean? Like, every boxer has a choice. Every boxer has a choice, unless you really just are a no-name boxer. But you're talking about Canelo Alvarez, who's probably one of the biggest stars in boxing right now. And so I know he's had a choice, and it's been proven. He wasn't. Nobody wanted him to fight Erislandy Lara. Erislandy Lara. Wow, Laurie. But he did that. You know what I mean? I do personally believe that Canelo will fight him personally, but I also think he is actually nervous about fighting him, and has taken the advice of the people around him to say, wait a little longer, let him get beat up, and him being Golovkin, of course. And so, with that being said, I think that's the most frustrating part. A lot of people try to talk resumes, and I mean, that's nonsense. Canelo doesn't have a good resume, okay? He looked okay. Anytime he fights a fighter his size that's even B level. We're not talking A level, because when he fought an A level fighter, he got washed. But when he fights a B level fighter, he looks average. Like, he didn't look good against Lara. He didn't look great against Austin Trout. He did knock down Austin Trout, but Austin Trout got back up and finished the fight. Like it's more surprising to me that Andre Ward beat Kovalev after Kovalev knocked him down than it is that Austin Trout lost that fight, even though he only got knocked down once. He wasn't getting beat up in that fight. You know what I mean? So, and then, he climbs to middleweight. He beats Miguel Cotto, and he outweighs Miguel Cotto. But he can't even knock out Miguel Cotto. Manny Pacquiao did it. You know what I mean? But you can't do it, and you're like 180 pounds in the ring. Damn, light heavy. Can't even knock out Angulo, who was a punching bag. I mean, look at his knockouts. A lot of people try to talk about his knockouts. He knocked out James Kirkland? If you don't know boxing, go look up James Kirkland. Okay? And look up his story. That wasn't an impressive win for Canelo. It was a good highlight reel, but he always had a questionable chin. Then you have Amir Khan. Amir Khan got knocked out at 140 pounds. You dragged him up 2 weight classes. He's not a natural middleweight. Definitely not a natural junior middle. And you knock him out. So what? So what? Danny Garcia did that. Does that mean Danny Garcia could fight Golovkin? Or does that mean Danny Garcia can take on Canelo? No. The guy's too big, right? You're pulling up fighters. And I think that this Canelo strategy of pulling up fighters, it started at the Josecito Lopez fight. I think this is when they really, really realized this, how you can pad somebody's resume, bring up a good, well-known name. Boxing fans might understand the difference, but casual fans, which is where most boxers make their true money, the Mayweathers, the Canelos, the Pacquiaos, you make money with the casual fans, the people that will tune in outside of just the regular boxing circle. You bring up these names that they might have heard of, and then you knock them out. And if you don't know the Josecito Lopez story, Josecito Lopez was a junior welterweight. He's at 140. And he fought Victor Ortiz. And this fight was to fight Canelo, right? The winner of this fight was going to fight Canelo. Josecito Lopez, first of all, is a soldier, okay? I love this dude. Has the heart of a lion. But he's a small guy. Fights Victor Ortiz, breaks Victor Ortiz's jaw. So the real fight that Golden Boy wanted was Victor Ortiz versus Canelo, which I would have loved to have seen. And if Victor Ortiz was like the old Victor Ortiz, I would have bet on him to win. But anyways, breaks Victor Ortiz's jaw, upset. So who gets the fight against Canelo? Josecito Lopez. Canelo looks great against Josecito Lopez. Josecito Lopez has spots in the fight, but Canelo's just way too big. He's dropping him with body shots, and it makes his power look magnificent. But if you look at that fight, Josecito Lopez looks sloppy in the belly. You know, just all it's just can tell he's not from that weight class. And so I think after that fight, they realized, man, we can just pull these, you know, now I don't want to call Josecito Lopez a bum, but in that weight class, a nobody, pull him up, we can knock him out, and it makes our resume look good. We got good names on our resume. But you're not fighting the real names in that weight class. You know what I mean? And he's been doing it longer than the Josecito Lopez fight. But he did it with Hatton. I think Hatton was in a different weight class than him. But that's the one where they realized the money in it, right? And so anyways, his resume just isn't as impressive as people think. He's not knocking out anybody of significance. He's going the distance with most of them. And I mean, look at what beefy Liam Smith was able to do with him. He was a good fighter. He wasn't great. He wasn't A-level. I give him a B. He was a B-level fighter, the easiest champion he can fight at 154. He didn't want to touch any of the Charlo brothers. He didn't want to touch Lara. He didn't want to touch any of those A-level guys. He went for the weakest champ, got a belt after vacating the belt to Golovkin when he said he would fight him twice because apparently Golden Boy told him not to. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Be a man. That's all I'm saying. Be a man. So, you know, and then if you look at Golovkin's record, like a lot of people have this notion, especially casual fans, and this is what frustrates most boxing fans, is that you look at Golovkin's record or names on his resume, and people are like, we never heard of them. Anybody in boxing knows that the best fighters aren't always the most popular fighters. That's a fact of the matter, right? There's so many great boxers that were never as big as Mayweather or Pacquiao, but it doesn't mean that they weren't great boxers, right? And do I agree that Golovkin could fight better names? Hell yeah, I agree to that. But number one, that's not his fault. And number two, he's fought more top 10 fighters than I think any middleweight champion, if not any champion in current history. Right? And I say current history, I mean in the last, couple of years. Easily. He's fought more top 10 fighters than any boxer that's out right now. I think the second closest is Kovalev. So he's fighting all comers. And Canelo is creating storylines. Now, the first reason he didn't fight Golovkin was because of weight. He wanted him to come down to 155, which we all know was stupid. Then you vacated the belt, which was stupid, after saying you would fight him in 2 different fights, which was stupid. So first it was the weight, then you jump over him now to fight Chavez Jr., which is stupid. And he's taking a risk, but let's say he wins that fight. Then what's your excuse? What is your excuse after that? Money? Okay, I said this before. Golovkin does not need the money. He wants the legacy. He made $25 million with Jordan alone. We're not even talking about purses that he's made from boxing. He's made millions. He doesn't need money. He can go back to Kazakhstan and live like a king for the rest of his life tomorrow. Doesn't even need the Danny Jacobs fight. He wants the legacy. He wants the belts. That's obvious. The biggest fight that people are calling for is Canelo, and Canelo won't step up. Golovkin will step up. To offer him $15 million on a fight that would probably make $100 million doesn't make any sense, because Canelo has never even made that much. Nor will he make that much with any other fighter, unless maybe Mayweather came back, and that's not happening. Canelo got washed by Mayweather. There's no need to see a rematch, and I don't think it changes. He's not that much better. He's not. Okay, and a lot of people are going to be like, this is a Canelo hate video. I'm just trying to keep it as honest as possible. He got washed up in that fight. You can say he was too young or whatever. He was drained, whatever. It's no different than any other boxer that's ever faced Mayweather. He wasn't in some unsurmountable, like feat. It was just that he just didn't have the skill for it. He didn't have the speed. He didn't have the technical abilities. So that just is what it is. Right? So there's no need to see that fight. So who else does Canelo make $100 million with, $150 million with? And you're going to offer that man $15 million? I mean, it's like, damn, go 30-70, 60-40. If you think you can beat him, and we're talking about $100 million, take that 60%. You can be the A side. That's fine. Take a bigger percentage of the pay-per-views. That's fine. You're saying that Golovkin wants more than he's worth. Bro, you want more than you're worth. And it only makes the fear factor look more realistic. That you are scared. That if you lose, that you need the cash payout. I would respect Canelo way more for just hopping in that ring. Saying, hey, 70-30, let's do it. And even if you lost, even if you got knocked out, I'd be like, hey, took it like a champ. But you're tainting boxing. And this is where I always say MMA is killing boxing. And this is why these fights this year that Al Heyman and Golden Boy, they're trying to put on, I won't even say Golden Boy, but Al Heyman, maybe Bob Arum, Schaefer. The reason they're trying to put on these great fights, these great matchups, the reason we're getting Kell Brook and Errol Spence and Garcia versus Thurman, Jacobs versus Golovkin versus Jacobs, is because they realize now that that MMA is proving that if you put on the great fights as a promoter, you make the money. And fans keep coming back. You have to put your stars in hot water. That's what makes legends. That's what makes money forever. That's why Muhammad Ali's family's still making money off his name, because he was in hot water. Same with Tyson. You know what I mean? At the end of your career, people are going to be like, yeah, he waited too long for Golovkin, just like Mayweather did Pacquiao. It's always going to taint your career, your legacy. And at this point, I realize that, Canelo and the Golden Boy squad, they don't even care. They don't care what you think as a fan, to be honest. When they announced that Amir Khan fight, I was like, oh, this is horrible. This is horrible. The best fight that he's had in the past couple of years, the best fight he's had was the Cotto fight. And if Cotto was his size, he would have whipped that ass. Straight up and down. He was just too big. Canelo was just too big for Cotto. But he got outboxed. And Canelo did show some great stuff in that fight. Don't let me just rain on his parade. He actually did show some great stuff. But had it been a fighter that could actually knock him out, it would have been a different story. And that's why we want to see him with Golovkin. We're not saying he's not great. We're just saying he hasn't proved it either. That's why they're calling for him to fight Golovkin. That's why fans are turning on him, because the truth is coming out. This is the age of the internet, guys. This ain't the 90s and the 80s where you can shroud boxing stories in mystery. People want to see the fights happen, and there's independent media out here shedding light on these stories. So, excuse me for, the allergies. Anyways, I don't want to talk too much on that. I hope the Golovkin Canelo fight happens. I obviously think that if it happens now, Golovkin wins. But he first has to get past Danny Jacobs. Canelo has to get past Chavez. And we'll see what happens there. A lot of other good fights coming up, but I'll try to do videos on those when the time is right. I just wanted to kind of touch on two major talking points because I haven't done it, and I thought it would be interesting. So, anyways, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you like this video, comment, share it. Hit the bell icon when you subscribe so you know when more videos are coming up. And, we'll talk soon, man. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments. Check out the website. That's www.goledminds.com. You should see it in this video. That's goldminds.com. And, I'll talk to you guys soon, man. Peace.